Hey everybody, Seth V here for the Knife Center with some of the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. It's that time of the week, let's take a look. This week we're kicking things off with a couple of new Knife Center exclusives, the first of which is the ArtisanCutlery Small Archaeo. This little thing, if you've seen many of our videos before, perhaps you've seen, we've done a number of exclusive versions of it. We just really like it, and I think you guys have been buying a lot of them, so there are a lot of fans out there of this knife. This time we wanted to kick things up a little bit, so we went with S35VN steel and these really nice marbled carbon fiber handles. I think you really need to see it in person or on video to appreciate the shimmer of this material. There's a little bit of texture to these scales, some leftover tooling marks maybe. It gives it just a very subtle feel in the hand, enough grip there for my average size hands, at least. What really makes this design special though is this whole pivot architecture here. It's a double detent joint knife, and these, oh man, this one in particular is super easy to just pop open and closed. So it's a non-locking knife, but it does have, as you can see, this awesome flipper action. And then, as if that wasn't enough, you can take, excuse me, this little pin here in the lanyard to secure your blade in place. It's been a while since I handled one of these, but I believe it works, yep, in the closed position too, for storage, travel, I don't know, earthquake proof. These have got everything you'd expect from an artisan cutlery knife. We got ceramic ball bearings in the pivot, ceramic detent, milled titanium pocket clip, back spacer. The price on these is $119.99, and you can only get them from us. Next exclusive on the table is the same configuration, but on the CJRB Ria. S35VN steel, nice satin finish, marble carbon fiber handle scales. The handles have been polished a little bit to really help bring out the shine of this carbon fiber. You've still got just a touch of that kind of grippy tooling mark texture. On a handle like this, that can be helpful when there's no real guard here to protect you from the edge. That said, I've always really loved this design as an EDC. I think it's really elegant. The action is fantastic. Thumb studs, ceramic ball bearings, very snappy detent. Almost feels assisted. I think I've said that before, I know David has, but it really does. You just kind of touch it and the blade flies open. Very nicely done. This version also upgraded with a sculpted titanium pocket clip just to bring the whole classy package together. One other little detail that is not present on any other Ria is just a subtle swedge here along the top of the blade. Kind of follows the boxed handle scales a little bit. As soon as I saw it, I actually kind of liked it. Might have to pick one of these up myself, but we'll see. Yeah, just another little detail you won't see on every Ria. Price on these is $99.95. Great little elegant EDC knife. Yeah, these turned out sweet. All right, next on the table, we have a trio of new affordable imported Kershaws. This is not everything that's new, but I think I kind of picked a representation here of all the categories. So starting up, we have a Tanto bladed speed safe assist flipper. This one is called the Flatbed, and it comes in at $32.95. So the Flatbed, it's all in the details, and the details are everywhere on this knife. We've got a kind of handle overlay here. I think this might be steel on top of some molded handles with all sorts of different textures. Backspacer here is pretty unique. We've got angular cuts at the start and end of it there. Makes sense in the hand though. The handle is quite accommodating. You know, the part that you actually grab onto is pretty simple curves. Even seeing this feel like maybe this was made to be held in a reverse grip as well, with that bit of a point to it there. In any case, the tanto blade is very nicely done. Thin hollow grind through the main section here, flat at the tip for some added strength. 8CR 13 MOV steel, and of course, speed safe for consistent repeatable action. One detail I'm just noticing here in hand, these three lines present on the blade kind of wrap around to form the jimping on the spine there. Make it over to the other side. Even when Kershaw does budget knives like these, they go the extra mile in details like that just pull everything together and I think present a pretty cool little package. Next up, from Kershaw, this is the Parley, a traditional back spring powered slip joint for $32.95. So we've got just over 3 inches of blade here and a handle, stainless steel bolsters, brass liners, and yeah, what are they calling this? This is definitely some kind of micarta. If I had to guess, it looks and feels a little more like a linen micarta. It's nice though. I quite like the look. That blade shape is definitely, I would say, cleaver inspired, maybe even straight razor, sheep's foot, but with all that extra width, there's tons to grab onto. You're really, the spring is not the strongest, but it's definitely got some good resistance to keep the blade in place. And yeah, because of how wide that blade is, it's so easy to open. 7CR stainless steel here, so not going to be the champ of edge retention, but you should have no problem sharpening this, and with this nice clean satin finish, I think you're going to have decent stain resistance too. Lanyard hole here to tie things off. Yeah, there are a couple other slip joints, a multi-bladed one that I didn't have on the table here, so make sure to check out the website for more details on those. The next knife I pulled though is also a slip joint, but of a different variety. This is one of those double detent joints here, and the resistance is pretty good, I gotta say. My worry with this type of knife is always that, you know, once the detents disengage, there's no spring pushing back on the blade like there is with a traditional back spring. So you really are counting on the strength of those detents to hold the blade in place. And here, they're quite strong. You do have to push to overcome them. It's very reassuring. This knife is $41.95 here. 8CR 13 MOV steel, and kind of a cool material handle, stainless steel, and what looks to be G10 bolted together around this cool molded backspacer. This is a slip joint. This is a non-locking knife, but it is very much informed by modern knife design. You know, the fact that you have a flow-through construction, the fact that we have a deep carry pocket clip here. This is a very modern style pocket knife, but if you just want or need a knife without a lock, I think this is a cool option for 40 bucks. Next up, we've got another slip joint. This one a little more old-fashioned, but modern in its own way too, because this is an MKM Malga with an M390 blade here. $114.90 for these new versions with G10 handle scales. This one is jade, there's also blue, there's orange, I think there's even black. And I mean, we're just talking peel ply G10. This is that grippy stuff. Gives these a nice colorful vibe. I mean, it's lightweight. It's fun to see a modern material on a, Swiss Army style knife like this. Speaking of tool sets, corkscrew all on the backside here, bottle opener, can opener, and that fork in addition to the blade. Nice set of tools. This would be one heck of a picnic knife, and to see M390 on a thin little multi-tool style blade like this is awesome. These are made to be slicers, so all that extra edge retention is going to come in handy. I think these make great gifts because you don't have to explain this to people. They already know what all these tools are familiar with this kind of knife. But with that M390 blade steel, they're getting a real upgrade that they may not even notice at first. Speaking of picnics, the next two knives on the table are really born for that, or at least for the camp kitchen. I pulled up the chef's knife here from Ontario. What are they calling these? The Camp Plus folding chef's knife. This is the Camp Plus bread. And there's a Santoku as well. I can see why these are popular. This knife is $12.95. That's a lot of blade for $13. This is 4.25 inches of a simple stainless. Nothing fancy, but man, it's ground very thin. This hollow grind is the kind of hollow grind you would see on an inexpensive chef knife like this, which is to say, it's going to be great at slicing. I think the handles really elevate this knife for the money. It's one of those plastics, it is a molded plastic, but it's one of those plastics that if you hand it to people, could easily be mistaken for G10. We've got some of the kind of peel ply texture here and some nice grippy sections. Still quite thin in profile, still quite lightweight overall, no pocket clip. Got a back lock, nice self-close. So these are going to be very safe to just throw in a bag and take camping. Bread knife is flat ground with nice wide serrations. I think a lot of people are going to pick these up just to have in a camping kit. It's kind of a perfect little set.
I'm a camp and I want one.
Yeah, make this your B team kitchen knife. You know, for when you invite somebody else over to cook or, I don't know, barbecue.
Airbnb.
Next up is a new one from GiantMouse. This is the Corta. I believe this was introduced in their sort of limited, the limited run line. So this knife has just over 3 inches of M390 steel, a price of $195. We got contoured green canvas micarta here and what looks to be a nice brass backspacer. This knife is an interesting one from GiantMouse. It's kind of an in-between position in their lineup, right underneath the size of the larger Grand and the smaller Riv and Biblio. I'm tempted to call this blade Puko style, maybe Puko inspired, modified Puko, but Pukish, but certainly pokey. That tip is quite acute, although we maintain a nice thickness of the full stock here, so it's not super delicate. And then a continuously curved belly from heel to tip. Gonna be nice for skinning for sure. I can see with the way that they've placed this jimping here, you're really meant to kind of choke up onto this thing. Really get some nice slicing done. I really like this size of knife. Just over 3 inches is a bit of a sweet spot. And the flipping action here is really good. Yeah. One of those actions that is difficult to get to fail, if you know what I mean. The nested liner lock leaves a very comfortable kind of contoured handle everywhere you're going to grip, which gives this a very hard-working vibe, shall we say. And a nice deep carry pocket clip to keep this thing almost flush in your pocket when you're carrying it around. Cool little package, great mid-sized knife from GiantMouse. Yeah, just under 200 bucks, sweet. We turn to another flipper now, this time from QSP. This is the new Otter. 2.7 inches of blade, S35 VN steel, $114.80 at the moment. And check out this handle material. This is called aluminum foil. I love the name. I love the look. I believe what it actually is sort of crumpled layers of aluminum and carbon fiber pressed together. That's just me assuming, so I would love to know the real answer, but whatever it is a cool looking material. I think a lot of QSP's most popular knives are closer to the budget side of things. This one with the upgraded blade steel is a bit more upscale. We've also got a milled titanium pocket clip to go with it. The detent on this knife is not super strong, but the flipper tab geometry is such that it's very easy to pop this thing open. No problem. Next up from QSP, the Hawk. And this is copper foil. So like that aluminum foil before, same thing, just with layers of copper. Really cool color. Man, this thing shimmers in the light. And the design of the Hawk is pretty sweet. Kind of reminds me of like a drop point flipper version of the Penguin. All those are good things if you ask me. So in addition to flipper tab, also got ambidextrous thumb studs, a deep carry pocket clip. Price on these is $152.95. And the feel is a bit more chunky, especially than that Otter, of course. Not just because we're talking about a thicker or a wider knife, but also a thicker one. Yeah, some nice meat on this handle. Gives it a distinctly tough little character for such a fancy, shiny looking knife. Very cool. Speaking of fancy and shiny, we got a bunch of new Protects in, and I pulled this one because it just screams treasure to me. These are limited edition Godsons. This one is $400, and we got a handle made from solid bronze. Yeah, these things are as heavy as you'd think they are, and there's so much mass in this handle, I think they even kind of dampen the sound of the blade. It's very cool. It cracks open, but with a kind of muted character. Firing button is inlaid with mother of pearl, 154 cm blades, all black to match the hardware and the pocket clip. Even though they've gone to the trouble of milling some relief out of these handles on the inside, which you can see shining. I hope Thomas can get some cool B-roll because it's awfully shiny in there. Even though they've gone and relieved some of the material out of these handles, it's still just got a heft to it. And on a knife this special, I think that's pretty cool. If this was a bit more than you were looking to spend on an automatic, we also got in some Godsons in the tuxedo configuration, which I think if we're talking personal taste would probably be my pick. Couple plain ones, and also Runt 5s, which is a Protect I actually did buy in the Wharncliffe. Highly recommend it. Yeah, can't go wrong with Protect, but this one is extra special. All right, the last pair of knives on the table are both fixed blades from K-Bar. New versions, not even a new version, a whole new take on the Ek Commando knife. This is the Model 50 clip point, $114.95. These have the specs you'd expect from a USA-made K-Bar 1095 steel. These bolt-on molded plastic handles. Blade length here is just a skosh over 5 inches. And boy, I wish David was here for this one because these are interesting.
Knowing him, he'll look at them tomorrow.
I'm sure we'll get his take on them eventually, but the Ek knives have always been so combat focused that I've never found them to be particularly comfortable. I don't know that was even what they were going for exactly. So it's really a nice surprise to be able to say that these handles are surprisingly comfortable. They've got all the same kind of bevels you'd expect from an Ek knife, but they've been kind of tapered a little bit here towards a nice pinch point and maybe rounded at the back or something. I think they're also a fair bit shorter than the original handles. Do we have specs on the handle length? We do. 4.19 inches long. Definitely not oversized. Yeah, again, I like that pinch point. This 5-inch blade definitely still has some tactical vibe to it. Nice clip. Almost an upswept tip, the way that clip I think is actually a little concave there. Pointy tip for sure. Just enough guard to clearly indicate where the edge is going to be and keep your hands from it. But if you're looking for something even more kind of general utility, even more towards, shall we say, the bushcraft side of things, this is the Model 51 EK Commando, $114.95. Someone left a comment or sent us a message saying that they thought this looked like a tactical Kephart knife, and I have to say, I can really see it. We've got a lot of the features that make the Kephart knife what it is, you know, the straight symmetrical handle, the small single guard, flat grind blade, very simple, straightforward ergonomics and utility here. We don't really have the kind of spear point of a true Kephart, but this drop point, I think, gets you in the same ballpark.
Does that make it an Eckhart?
Sure, can we call it that? So these have the exact same handle scales as the clip point version, same comfy handle. That pinch point, I think it's going to work great in those bushcraft grips. Yeah, it's either the least tactical EK Commando knife or the most tactical bushcraft knife I've ever seen. Either way, pretty cool, pretty sweet new USA made K-bar. Oh, the sheaths. Sheaths on these are worth mentioning because they're great. Here's the one for the drop point. Just molded with a little nylon belt loop attachment. Solid retention, snaps in, and a nice push off. In fact, why not? It's the last knife. Let's see if we can do this. Woo! Don't tell David.
Already did.
I'm sure he's already on his way.
Yeah.
He takes his fixed blades very seriously. Well, with that, I think it's about time to get out of here. If you liked anything you saw here on the table today, check the links in the description. It'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com, where you'll be able to buy these knives, and hopefully, if you sign up for our Knife Rewards program, get some free money to spend on your next knife. I'm Seth V for the Knife Center, signing off. I'll see you next time.